Hello and welcome to Crushing Comics, the web series where I fall in love with my comic collection all over again. So here behind me, let's pick a great one today. Here behind me is my comic collection of oversized hardcovers and omnibuses, which I had to pack in a hurry to make the trip from Philadelphia to New Zealand. And I don't know what's in them. Like, I kind of sort of wrote on them, but really it's a big old mystery to me. So we're going to open one up and relive my original purchase excitement all over again, and then tell you whatever it is I might know about that book. I'm actually under some time duress with this. I have people coming to stay with me, and I'm really excited that people are going to visit us in Wellington, because, oh my gosh, that's a journey. And this is the room they're going to be staying in. There's a futon over on that side, except for right now, it's just whole, like, Minecraft structures of comic short boxes. Money of which could probably go onto this wall if I would empty it out of these, because each one of these has to take up like 2 or 3 times the room that their actual books does. Not because I've wrapped it in like 3 times its weight in wrapping paper, but because by the time there's the added thickness and the added height and the edges, and that they're like hard to slide past each other because of the bubble wrap, they take up a ton more space than they do unwrapped. So like, I've unwrapped quite a few, and we don't even have one whole cube up here yet. So that's why we're doing this. And oh my gosh, there's going to be a lot of episodes. Okay. So this is classic X-Men Volume 2. So it starts with X-Men 32, Silver Age X-Men, just post Stan Lee writing it, I think, at that point. Yeah, it was Roy Thomas. And extends to the end of the X-Men series with 66. And it also has the covers, I believe, of the issues that came after 66. And were just reprint issues up until 94, which came after Giant Size, when X-Men relaunched. Maybe it doesn't have the covers, actually, now that I'm looking at it. So here's the story. X-Men, although we have rapturous ideas about it now, was not the best of Marvel's Silver Age books. It kind of limped along a little bit as an ugly duckling. But it had some great stuff happening in it. People tend to like look back on it, especially in like message boards where people are like, which X-Men should I read? And I'm like, not the classic stuff. There are some great moments, okay? The original Sentinel story is great. Neil Adams' work on X-Men, great. The story that introduces Polaris, which is in this book, great. So I'm not going to let anybody talk any trash on those. But if you're talking about the essentials of X-Men, no. This is not the most essential material, other than the fact that it does introduce Polaris and also has the X-Men get into their newer, more individualized costumes, which includes Jean Grey in her notable green miniskirt Marvel Girl costume. Cyclops in his yellow tidy white or tidy yellowies underwear. And so I have not read this whole thing. I do remember being really excited when I first got it because, I mean, again and again, the theme of these collections, which maybe it's hard to understand in this digital age at this point, is that these books were unattainable previously. Like, there was just no way to get them. In the 90s, you might luck into like a Masterworks reprint of one issue here or there, like X-Men 1 or Giant Size X-Men, but unless you're going to spend a lot of money on some really crummy low-grade copies, there was just no way to read X-Men 50. It just wasn't going to happen. And that is a lot of people's fascination with these collected editions. Gosh, the covers are just so great. Eric the Red there. That's a lot of the fascination with these collected editions. That's a lot of people who always wish they could read these books. This cover, I mean, it's really one of my favorite X-Men covers of all time. Can we just appreciate it for a minute? And so that's the fascination with these things, because like you got this book and you never had access to these issues before, and now suddenly it's on your bookshelf in this like perfect, beautiful bookshelf format. So that is really, really cool. And regardless if the content is good. Now, here's the thing. That whole perception is going to change now. We're in a digital age where you can just go onto Comixology or whatever on one of their sales and probably get these for like $1.50 an issue and have the whole run. So is there this fascination with the older Silver Age material, and is there this preciousness about it, right? Because like there's a lot of preciousness that previously was about like, oh, I've always wanted to read the first Juggernaut appearance, the first Banshee appearance, the first Polaris appearance. And now that preciousness that drove people to want to get these books doesn't exist as much because it's all just constantly accessible. If you get Marvel Unlimited, which I highly recommend that you do, because it's like $10 a month and you can just read everything that's ever been in Masterworks, most of it, largely everything that's in the Epic collections, and everything pretty much from 2005 forward that's not mature content. That's more comics than you could possibly read in a 10-year period and possibly a 100-year period, all available to you. And so the preciousness starts to trickle away. And so when you get newer fans who are like, look, that material isn't that good. And that's totally, totally fair because they have the spoilage of choice. And in choosing out of thousands of X-Men issues to read, they're not going to prioritize the issues in this book, which I completely understand. And then you have me, an older collector, who's like, but these still have value. I think the sane perspective is somewhere in the middle of that spectrum, right? We can't be precious about every comic book that ever came out, even for our favorites. There are bad issues of X-Men. There are boring issues of X-Men. I can admit this, and I am a junkie when it comes to X-Men. But at the same time, there's definitely some value, especially historic value, to seeing how a franchise got built that allowed it to have the legs to become what Claremont and other authors were able to do with it. And this book does have a lot of that DNA because it's the post-Stanley run where the X-Men were released a little bit from the school concept to be slightly more autonomous. And I think that especially when it comes to Jean and Cyclops, seeded what they became in the subsequent run, and maybe it's a little bit of the reason why characters like Iceman and Angel and Beast wound up in other places. Beast, of course, winds up becoming a high-quality Avenger. Iceman and Angel are in Champions, and then they are in New Defenders with Beast, and eventually get reconvened with X-Factor. So this is one that I'm really excited to own, and I probably should sit down and spend the time to read it sometime soon. So that could be a whole other Crushing Crisis Comics video extravaganza, me reacting to reading all these books, which probably should take me through the age of 171. So thanks so much for being with me today. Here's the ceremonial shelving of X-Men Volume 2. Tune in next time while I unwrap more books and try to think of some interesting context to talk about. Thank you so much for watching.